I was like, there's a hole. There's a hole in education right now, and I just haven't been able to explain it. And I said, I'm tired of explaining it. I bought a website one day, and I was like, let's just try to help teachers. There's no time for the teacher to do anything. And then teachers don't feel like they can do anything. We need to stop writing curriculum as teachers. That's not our job, right? Like, we don't have to do that anymore because almost everybody has gotten a new curriculum at this point. Teachers can, yell from the rooftops, but it's really only impactful when it comes from families. Parents want to help. Families want to help. And sometimes you just don't know how.
Hey everyone, before we begin, I wanted to tell you about a live workshop I'll be leading on Zoom on Sunday, June 14th at 3 p.m. During this workshop, which is geared toward parents of students entering grades 1st through 5th grade, I will teach you 3 ways to help your kid avoid the summer slide for reading over the summer. In this workshop, you will walk away with a clear routine and strategy for addressing your students' tricky spelling errors. I'm going to show you how to help them build vocabulary and knowledge over the summer in a way that's going to help their reading comprehension soar. And I'll show you a 3-minute evidence-based fluency routine that's going to help your child read more accurately, more smoothly, and with more expression. To sign up, the link is in the show notes. I really hope to see you there. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Reading Symphony Podcast. We are so lucky to have one half of an amazing duo called the Boston Literacy Ladies. Jaenine Rodriguez is with us here tonight, and Jaenine and Michaela, her partner, bring more than 20 years of combined experience in elementary education. Their backgrounds as classroom teachers, reading specialists, and literacy coaches include work with learners as young as 3 years old. Both hold Massachusetts licensure in elementary education, reading specialist, English as a second language, and administration, and are letters trained with deep expertise in the science of reading, adult learning, and building educator capacity. They founded the Boston Literacy Ladies to address a nationwide need. Teachers often work in isolation with limited professional development, coaching, or opportunities for reflective collaboration. Their mission is to change that by partnering with educators and school districts across the country to refine instruction, strengthen existing systems, and provide practical, individualized support. Whether teachers need help with scheduling, family engagement, classroom management, data analysis, or curriculum planning, they create customized coaching plans aligned with each educator's goals. They also support school districts to provide impactful data-driven professional development that address student-centered needs unique to the learning environment. The aim of the Boston Literacy Ladies is to bring back joy to teaching, reduce planning stress, and empower educators one meeting at a time. I love that bio, and the mission is so important. Welcome, Jaenine.
Thank you for having me. It was a mouthful.
Oh, no, but you deserve every part of that needs to be recognized. You guys have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So what led you to begin this work together?
So Michaela and I have been working together for 11 years. Prior to joining our school district, I had been a classroom teacher, I had been a reading specialist, and I took on a position as a coach. And Michaela actually started at the school as an intern, a year-long intern, and she later took over to become a classroom teacher and then an interventionist. So I spent a lot of time in our classroom co-teaching, taking small groups, thinking what we were doing was like the best and most innovative for reading, right? And then, the pandemic hit and then it's road to recovery, science of reading, all of these things. And it's like everything we already kind of knew. I never really swayed to the left or swayed to the right in terms of literacy instruction. I just did what the kids needed. So I was always like philosophically just always evolving. And then DESE had started, the Department of Education in Massachusetts started doing all of these free webinars after the pandemic around the science of reading, phonemic awareness. And I was like, oh, this is all really easy. Like we can just kind of do this. And we did a lot of training around the road to recovery after the pandemic, around remediation versus acceleration. And just because students aren't reading doesn't mean they don't need and require and deserve access to strong, high quality tier 1 instruction. So we've kind of been on this train for a while and doing a lot of like homegrown things because we were in a state of transition in curriculum. And at that time, it was also, so many people were bought into the Calkins and the, am I allowed to say that? Like into those philosophies and whatnot.
Yeah, the balanced literacy movement.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And benchmark assessments and LLI. And I was like, I don't need LLI. I need an interventionist that just can intervene. Right. But nobody could understand what I was talking about when I was saying that. So I was like, there's a hole. There's a hole in education right now. And I can't. And like for the last, I'd say it's been like 3 years, I've been like, and I just haven't been able to explain it. And I said, I'm tired of explaining it. I bought a website one day and I was like, let's just try to help teachers. And we didn't know what that looked like. And like, so we're ever evolving. But it's just, the teachers need support. And that's the biggest thing that I have found. We started the business last year. We'll celebrate our 1 year birthday next month. And I spent all last summer just on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, reaching out to teachers, messaging them. I joined so many Facebook communities and people are just lost. And I said, do you want a free coaching meeting? And I've just been kind of networking that way. And I say, you don't even have to sign up, but just like come meet. And it's helped kind of like build a little network, which is so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that part of your bio that just strikes me is the fact that so many teachers are in isolation right now.
Yes.
And they may be surrounded by an incredibly loving community. They often are. But they might be ready to learn and the rest of the ecosystem might not be ready yet. So it's
Yeah.
just wonderful that you're there as a resource that they can develop
Hmm.
themselves if they don't feel
Hmm.
like that development is coming to them. I'm curious, I mean, you're meeting with so many teachers now, and I'm
Hmm.
sure across the country, maybe even in different countries.
Yeah.
What are some of the persistent requests for help you're getting? Like, what are the gaps that you're seeing?
Burnout.
Mm,
How am I, no pun intended, how am I balancing all of my literacy? But really not even just helping with literacy, just helping with strong instructional practice. Because right, like we were doing too much instructional practice with no curriculum, and now people are doing too much curriculum with no instructional practice. But the biggest thing is I don't know what I'm teaching, when I'm teaching it, and how I'm scheduling my day. And like that has been the biggest my goal is that you no longer need coaching because I've taught you all the tools that you need to really streamline your instruction. And that's really where people, by the time they finish their coaching cycles, they're like, "Oh, I don't really need it." I'm like, "So what's on the agenda?" And they're like, "Everything's great." Like it's just taking everything and scaling it back and making it bite size.
and do you have teachers who are like first-year teachers and 20-year teachers working with you? Like, how
Yes.
what's the
Yes.
average tenure that they have?
More people are likely to sign up for coaching more, like, deeper into their career. First year teachers or second year teachers, they need a lot of help and they kinda don't know what they
Mm,
need yet. So that's
yeah.
a lot of, like, organizational management checklists. Did you do this? Have you reached out to the parents? And just helping that way. But really, like, you have to be ready for coaching and ready to say, "That's not how I teach, but I'm willing to change it."
Mhm,
So all of the teachers that are working with me are seasoned into
mhm.
their careers.
Mhm, yeah, and that's amazing too. There's so much on their plates and they're still wanting there's just this hunger to get better and to learn, and I love what you said too about the goal is actually that people don't need me. That's my goal too with supporting people through my consulting practice. You know you've done your job if you can inject the right amount of support and then they fly.
Yeah.
What are some of the essential steps that teachers need to take, but also that families need to take in order to really get a good sense of what their kids need as readers and how to support them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely always think like start small, right?
Mhm.
Like as we know, those positive relations right at the beginning of the school year, just being able to say, I love doing this, especially at the beginning of the year, but throughout the year, I'm making one phone call today, or I'm making three phone calls today, and I'm three secret students. That's like my favorite, three secret students. And I'm not going to tell you, and like you're going to deem what kind of phone call you get, but always making sure that you're communicating for good things. It helps build that connection. But on the school level, right? I work in a pre-K to 5 school. It's a pretty large school, and it's really difficult. And I'm also a parent, and they run workshops. Like we run workshops at night, in the morning. There's never the right time
Mhm.
And if you have 400 students, you can run all the parent workshops you want. And, if you get 10, you're like, all right, I had a good turnout. And like, as a parent, I attend parent workshops and I'm like, okay, 8 families here, you know what I mean? But the afternoons are tough. The morning is tough. People can't come during the day. So I get that. So we're really starting to lean into like targeting. I know I can't hit all 500 parents at the same time, but where do I wanna hit? Who needs those resources? Because we're also all stretched so thin, right? I wanna hit these 10 families multiple times this year.
Mhm. And what about in your partnership with families? What moves or um, gestures, questions have families made that have really led to meaningful conversations and communication around, specifically given the focus of this podcast, reading and writing?
Mhm. Um As a literacy coach, I typically don't communicate with families until they have like a big question, right? Like I'm always available. I communicate with anything. Like my kid can't get on. Here's their website. Like I'm an open book. But typically the classroom teachers try, and then if they come to me, I'm like, just give them my email. I'm happy to call. I'm a big phone call person because like skip the point, like skip the tone through the email. You know what I mean? Type of big long email. But really, when you get to a lot of parents, either they just have a lot of questions and they're like, I don't know what my kid is learning, or what do you mean you're concerned with their data? What do you mean they need extra support? And really just taking them through the process. Parents want to help, families want to help. And sometimes you just don't know how. And if you don't understand, um, oftentimes there's a family that may be resistant to if we suggest that a student needs help, and it's not really resistance, it's just they don't really understand the process. So whether I have a relationship with the family or not, I'm like, let me give them a call, let me walk them through. Parents don't often know their rights either, you know what I mean? You have rights as families in your child's education, and no secrets teaching, no secrets instruction, right? I'm very transparent with, these are the processes that we go through. This is what you have the ability to say yes and no to. You can say yes, 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 and then say no. Um, but we don't know if we don't try. And just being very transparent and having those conversations early on when we start to see concerns in kindergarten, in first grade, because we don't want third grade being the first time that families are notified about something. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question about that one, but
Mhm.
just going back to what you said about just picking up the phone, I think that even as somebody who is a mom of a reader, and I often have lots of questions for her teacher, but just remembering how busy a school teacher's day is and how many different phone calls or emails they may be getting from different families, and the fact that they have families of their own to go home to oftentimes. And so I think, and whether you send an email or you pick up the phone to call, I think just always remembering that, an exhausted teacher, it feels so good if an email or a question is phrased in a way that expresses curiosity, but, like,
Mhm.
assumes the best and, isn't unnecessarily, adversarial.
Right.
So I just wanted to kinda put that out there. I think that
Mhm.
it always just goes so much farther when there's, like, kindness behind the request, and so and as teachers, it's our job to answer any question. It's not like we're
Right.
gonna ignore the ones that don't come through in the right way, but I think tone is so huge, and it's harder in this world when so much is dependent on, um email and text messaging. And so I'm totally with you. I Whenever I get an email and I'm not sure exactly, what the feeling is on the other side, I just pick up the phone call. It just
Right. And that's, because I don't have my own classroom, I often will say, "I'll take this off your plate, let me just call them." Right?
Mhm.
Because teachers are dealing with everything else, and
Yeah,
if I can take those extra 20 minutes and spend that time on the phone with that family, I will happily do that. Yeah.
yeah. What um dyslexia screener does your school give? And I'm curious how you walk through the communication of results of that. I mean, I know that the law says you have to obviously inform parents when students are at a certain level, but just broadly would love to know what the communication protocol
Yeah.
is.
So we use MClass, which is the online Dibbles suite, if you will. It's through Amplify. It's actually like a really nice data suite, in my opinion. I think it
Agreed.
might be okay, great. I think it might be the only online platform available for Dibbles. I think.
As far as I
Um,
know, yeah.
yeah. So we use that K to 2, and then students take iReady 3 to 5. We at this current we don't do any early literacy screener for pre-K. We do the RGR, which is like more of an interview base. But the district actually sends home all of the family letters with test scores 3 times a year. And then we I think last year, maybe 2 years ago was the first time that occurred, and we were ready for lots of family requests
Yeah,
and meetings, and that's actually when my email gets very busy from families,
I
"Well,
bet.
what do you mean?" But I would say now that it's the norm, we have fewer. We have fewer people kinda understand more like, "Oh, this is up the norm, we get these letters all the time." So within the Dibble suite, there is a RAN assessment that can be done, and I always get fuzzy with the words. If a student has an exclamation point next to their composite with an M class, we don't diagnose dyslexia, but we can say this could be a further recommendation to administer the RAN, for example, which could lead to conversations around dyslexia, in which I say you should have a conversation with a pediatrician.
I think that's a great sign of effective practice with using universal screeners is when there is a flag. It does not mean there's a
Right.
dyslexia diagnosis, but the fact that you follow up with a diagnostic to
Y-
find out more information, I
Yeah.
think is such a helpful tip for parents. So if
Hmm.
they see a red if well, it's different based on the screener, but
Hmm.
oftentimes warning labels come with red or maybe at risk might be a yellow or sort of like on the watch might be a yellow. Green is typically at benchmark. And um, a really great response from the school or the teacher would be, "Yes, we're trying to find out more." Like that
Hmm.
raised a little flag to find out more
Yeah.
information. And we may find that it's just one really quick fix that we need to quickly close, or we may
Right.
find that there's a more significant gap, which again doesn't mean they have dyslexia, but could grow into a larger challenge if that gap isn't closed. So that's a great answer.
We also look at the whole child when we start to see those, and I say, like, what is their working memory like in class? What is
Mhm.
their at home if you're giving
Yes.
them directions? Like, what is their ability to recall? Just to kind of see, is this an isolated event or is this happening in other places?
Yeah, it's one data point. Absolutely. Let's talk just a little bit about teacher training. I know that you
This is my
and
favorite
Michaela,
part.
yes, love it. You and Michaela are doing so much of that. And, not everyone has access to a personalized coach. And so, in an ideal world, because I think this is something that, as families pay attention to legislation changes in
Hmm.
Massachusetts, which is right now happening, or if you're not in Massachusetts and you're listening, there's a lot of states doing legislative changes right now around rights to read. um, or you're a taxpayer and your money is going towards schools. Like, what does excellent teacher support look like in a school setting when there are so many priorities, so many things we could be training teachers on, but like specifically literacy training? Like, what does the ideal look like in your mind?
I think I think I can finally say this. I've been in I'm ending my 18th year, so I feel like I've been around for a bit, and the teacher efficacy levels are so low, and I don't know if this is like a big buzzword right now, you know what I mean, teacher efficacy, but people are they're a bit depleted. And even like new teachers, like we had that like spark of like, we're going to change the world, and even new teachers I feel like are burning out quicker. So that's like such a multifaceted question because I consider myself a literacy specialist. And I've spent the last 11 years of my career just really focusing on building adult capacity, running meaningful PD. I feel like we can give them all the literacy training that they need, but if we don't build the systems and supports within the schools for them to actually use it, it's pointless, right? So, like, you mentioned where letters trained. If your district paid all that money for letters training and said everybody's grounded in the science of reading, but then you as a teacher don't have the systems and supports to actually do that, or if your district says we also use Dibbles, we use NWEA, we use M class, we use this curriculum, and we also supplement it with UFly.
And
And
that's
then
just literacy,
right, and then you
right?
have to
Yeah.
use this for intervention
Mhm.
on top of all of that. It's like there's no time for the teacher to do anything.
Yeah.
And then teachers don't feel like they can do anything.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest bang for our buck in terms of teacher like building teacher capacity is really that modeling, giving them the safe space, getting deep into the curriculum with them. My biggest thing is we need to stop writing curriculum as teachers. That's not our job, right? Like we don't have to do that anymore because almost everybody has gotten a new curriculum at this point. But because of initiative fatigue, we all already decide that the curriculum that we got yesterday is terrible and we never follow through with it. And that's how we end up supplementing with 62 things. And now we're burnt out because you're planning, planning, planning. And we're consistently in this cycle of writing curriculum because we think it's what's best for the kids. But it's, I have never been like, okay, this is the curriculum. I am now understanding just teach what you have. So that's it. Just teach what you have and really deeply understand what you have. So that way you're not burning yourself out. If your boxed program has a phonemic awareness component in the 5-day cycle every day for 15 minutes, why are you also teaching this phonemic awareness curriculum, but not just teaching it from your regular curriculum? Our job is the instruction. And if you're writing curriculum, you're spending hours, like you don't have time to plan because you're creating. So building the efficacy to just like take risks and say, okay, you used to do work board. That was a huge one for my school because we teach CKLA and there's no work board, right? Like that was a big, when am I taking small groups? I'm like, you're not. And they're like, but the kids can't learn. I'm like, but they weren't learning anyways. And we were working very hard. So let's just try it, and giving teachers that safe space to really gripe and really be upset and to feel that loss. But that's having collective efficacy. That's having shared leadership. That's having feedback loops. That's having the coaching. If your school can't set those systems up, we're going to be chasing our tail. And
Mm.
that's from the admin. That's the teachers have to be on board. Um, so it's the jumping. It's we just need to focus on one thing. What is the one thing that we can build together?
Yeah. You said so many things that are so important. I think, one thing that my thinking has really shifted on really since starting this podcast and talking to people in so many different roles within the education field is that, yes, sometimes it might be a conversation with your child's teacher about maybe what they might need that they're not getting. But more times than not, it's actually a conversation with the people who are leading the system, whether it's the superintendent's office or the school leader, because often teachers are executing a million different directives that are placed on their plates and not given the actual time to meet with the specialist or to internalize the lesson plan. And I also think that's a great point about no curriculum is going to be perfect. So just teach what you have, but then focus on the actual delivery of it because there's so much precision involved in executing the lesson. And so I think that that's important. So if you were, let me just go back to my last question. Okay. So you might have just answered it. We were just talking about the like the resistance to change.
It's
Um,
the teacher efficacy, and I
yeah.
feel like I'm like, wow, this hot word. I just keep dropping it. I'm taking a couple courses right now as well, and I'm like, what is this efficacy? This believe in yourself. I was like, so hokey, but it's true, right? Like if you don't feel safe in your school as a teacher to take risks, to get involve parents, to do things differently, why would you do anything differently?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of these one-off PDs that we get, right? Like that fulfill, okay, we need something on equity, we need something on culturally responsive teaching, we need a literacy one, we need a math one, we need a science one. It's not doing anything for us. Whereas if we could have like more building based, homegrown, time for teachers to plan, like time for teachers to reach out to families during those PD times for meaningful, like, okay, we're all going to create this and we're all going to send it, right? Like that. And now we feel like we've done something. We've reached out, we've hit those families, and they feel that too. So being flexible about PD and responsive instead of a check mark and fulfilled an hour that was required.
Right, right. So much compliance with
Yes.
not a lot of purpose necessarily.
My biggest hope in education is that the people at the top, I'm a teacher contract, I'm a teacher in my district as a coach. I just wish that those that are making instructional decisions would spend a lot of time in the classrooms in early literacy, sitting on the floor with our pre-K and our kindergarten teachers and understanding. For central administration to walk through classrooms, not in an evaluative way, but to be a part of the community and to feel the verve of the school. I had an assistant superintendent who's now retired years ago, but she knew the names of the kids in my school.
Ugh, so powerful.
And that and alone, she would sit in the second grade classrooms with us, and I would like, I would narrate what was happening. I would say, "Okay, the teacher did this because of that, and those kids are going over there." At this point, we were doing a walk to learn model because we were so desperate for support, and she was like, "Oh, I get it." And I said, "Just keep coming." And, like, that helped run our PD. That ran our budget. That helped our school improvement plan because the district understood what we were doing so they could support us. But through this lens of like equality, you need this many staff members because that's how many they have. I have like triple the kids in my school. You know what I mean? So just like understanding the model,
Yeah.
um, especially when administration may not have been first grade teachers, you know?
And I think if a parent's listening, one concrete takeaway is I have with that is if you do have the opportunity, whether it's like a PT or not a PTO meeting, like a school board meeting or something where a lot
Mm,
of towns will have like meet and greets with the superintendent
yes.
or different people in the central office,
Yes.
literally asking them that question, how much
Yes.
time, and they're busy too. I mean, that's, everybody's busy, but how much time are you spending with teachers? Even if they spent half a day, 2 times a year following a first grade teacher around, right? Following substitute teaching for one day, I think it makes it so much real and does help you be more intentional in how you're allocating your time and your
Yes.
money. Yeah,
Yes.
it's great, great
Yes. Yes.
insight.
I did my principal administration program at Salem State University, and I remember one professor said to me, "When you all become principals, I don't care how busy you are. You take a lunch duty and you take a recess duty, and you put your jacket on and your boots, and you go outside and do recess with your teachers, and you watch, and you do lunch, and you're there, and you are present." And that always stuck with me.
I
You know.
couldn't agree more. I've been a principal twice, and one of the non-negotiables in those years was that I had to teach something, and it wasn't always a full class necessarily. It might be like a semester of social studies and then a
Yeah.
semester of a reading intervention, but I think just keeping your ear to the rail in that way is
Yes.
it's just, it keeps you really honest and
Mhm.
and clear on what's hard about teaching. So,
Final
yeah,
push though, if you're a
yeah.
family and you don't know how to support your school, I think the biggest thing that you could ask, really the principal is, or the classroom teachers, whoever you feel connected with in the school, how can we advocate for your school, right? And then
Mm.
finding out, do they have school committee meetings? Are they listening? Right? Like, who can I talk to? Because teachers can, yell from the rooftops, but it's it's really only impactful when it comes from families. So we can say we don't like something, and it just doesn't really matter. But if the families say that they don't like something, well, That's who the clientele is. It's like you can really control the narrative of the school. So if you really want to support your schools, find out what the schools need.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another really it's so obvious when you say it out
Yeah,
loud, but it's
it's
not
free.
something,
We don't
you
want the
know?
money. It's like it's
Yeah,
your voice. We really
yeah,
need family voice to be in alignment with the school mission.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that.
Mm.
Janine, I learned so much talking to you tonight, and I always have so much awe and respect for people who are doing the work that you're doing in supporting teachers. And you also are working in a school every day, and you're also a mom. And both of you just are giving so much of your time and your hearts to supporting teachers. And thank you so much for all that you do for our community in Boston and for all that you're teaching and supporting teachers across the country with.
Thank you for having me.
Of
I love
course.
to nerd out with those who love to talk about curriculum and instruction.
Do it all day. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about the Boston Literacy Ladies?
You can check out our website at bostonliteracyladies.com. We are on all social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, no Twitter.
That's fair. That's a lot of platforms. I'm very impressed with you too. Wow. Great. Well, definitely check out the Boston Literacy Ladies if you are a family member thinking about how you might even support your child's teacher. You could put them in touch with your child's teacher. Maybe you guys should even look into like gift subscriptions or something like that for families.
That's
Talk
actually a
about that.
great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have to have you both back on next time. And in the meantime, I'm really excited to see and hear about all the support you're giving. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.